everybody, Queen D. Michelle here, and welcome to Moving Inward and Onward. I appreciate you stopping by. This week, we move onward as I discuss chapter 3 of my book, Considerations, A Guide for Moving Abroad. The chapter is entitled, Consider a Visa. Now, there are those who hire a lawyer to handle that aspect of obtaining their visa when moving abroad. However, I did it myself and I learned so much and obtained my Residente Permanente Visa. Now, I always say I'm still and will always be a U.S. citizen. However, I reside in Mexico. Now, I'm known as an expatriate, or expat for short. And that's someone who lives outside of their native country. There are several types of visas one could obtain depending on how they plan to live abroad. Student, work, temporal, and permanent are the basic types of visas I came across during my research. Different countries have different types of visas. Requirements for U.S. citizens attempting to obtain a visa. There are even visa-free countries for Americans. And of course, research would have to be done to learn what those countries are. So let's step it out, okay? Step 1, obtain a passport. You know, I always say for the passport that it's like your freedom papers, you know? So whether you're even planning to move abroad, live abroad, travel abroad, get your passport. You know, it's your freedom papers. So have them anyway, right? All right. And step 2 is to determine what kind of visa that you plan on getting. And now this is for those who are moving abroad, you know, not so much traveling, because there's a tourist visa, right? But I'm talking moving abroad, living abroad. Okay. So, and your finances are actually going to determine what kind of visa that you can obtain. 3, where's your consulate office? Find out where that is. You know, you may not even have one in your state. And if you don't, people have been known to go a state over or two to the consulate office. Okay. The Mexican consulate office. Remember, this is all about moving abroad to Mexico. So anyway, step 4 is that you need to go online and fill out the application. The link for doing that is in the comments as well. I'm leaving that for you to do that. Now, I want you to know this too. A side note here, that when I obtained my visa, started the process for my visa, it was 4 years ago, pre-COVID. So now, you know, with COVID, I don't know, you know, as it relates to their protocols now, how they're doing appointments, the fees, of course, are probably different than what they were 4 years ago. So those are things I want you to keep in mind that may be different from how it was for me 4 years ago, just because of the pandemic. So check that out. Now, these are the things I know you will need to take with you to the consulate office. The actual application, which I downloaded and printed off from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website, which is listed in the comments. You will need your original and copies of financial statements. I would do about 2 copies each, right? Original in at least 2 copies of each original. Original and copies of your passport. You're going to need 1 frontal picture, passport size. The minimum is 3.2 centimeters times 26. It's just good information to know, right? And then payment. Now the fees, when I went to try to obtain my temporal, the fee was $24 at the time. Now the in-depth story of how the stars aligned for me the day I received my Residente Permanente Visa card can be read in my book, chapter 3. It's a good one. So check it out. Now, the second part of obtaining residency begins when you cross the border for the first time with your card that's inside your passport that you received from the consulate office. Now you're on Mexican soil and you have 30 days to register that visa, be it temporal or permanent. You have 30 days to get it registered. I'm going to read from my book here. Now, I arrived in Mexico on Friday, December 1st, 2017. And on Monday, December 4th, is where I pick up here reading exactly what my process was like. On Monday, December 4th, I found my way to the National Migration Institution Office, INM, located in Chapala. Basically, on that visit, I was just registering within the confines of that 30 days. That I was present in the country and available to complete the process. Once I registered, I could not leave the country until the process was complete. That's really important. There are exceptions to that rule. However, it requires a written notarized letter, which I'm assuming could be an added headache. I was keeping positive thoughts that no major incident took place in the States that would need my immediate attention until the process was over. Once registered, I could return for the next step when I had all the required documents. No appointment was needed. Okay. Now, the requirements that I had to take back to the office once I registered, it took time for me to gather up the information that they were requiring, the documents that they were requiring. And it was original and copies of my passport, the FMM form that was stamped at the airport with my date of entry. Okay, so that part of that you fill out on the plane as you come into the country, they want that bottom part of the evidence is that's the day you stepped into the country. Original and copies of your Mexican visa. The online application, which is different from the online application I gave the consulate in Atlanta. Okay, it's called a formato basico, and you'll get that online as well. So you have to fill that out and print that out and take that in as well. And 3 visa size photos and receipts showing that you paid for the visa which you are getting ready to obtain. Now, back then when I did it, received my permanent visa, I paid 4,500 pesos, which comes out to be approximately something like $250 for the fee for the visa. Now, the in-depth story of how that second part of me obtaining my Permanente Residente Visa is also one to be read. man, I got lost in Japala, y'all. So anyway, again, chapter 3 of Considerations, a Guide for Moving Abroad. My final say on obtaining a visa is this, and I'll read from the book, of course. Consider the visa requirements and process when planning and preparing to live abroad. Consider exactly what type of visa will work best for your situation. Also, consider hiring a lawyer to complete the visa process. If you do it yourself, it takes patience and strict attention to detail. Organization of required documents is essential as well. The visa process starts in the country where you currently reside and is completed in the country in which you are moving. Every country has their own process and requirements, and you must thoroughly research the criteria needed. It can be time-consuming and intimidating, especially if there's a language barrier. Ever spent a day at the DMV driver services office trying to change your title, address, or renew your license? Finally, you're called up, only to be told that you don't have the correct whatever. Obtaining a visa can be like that scene on steroids, especially if you are doing it alone. Not that it can't be done. I most definitely did. And my experience is proof of that. Now make sure to join me next week when we will be moving inward. And as always, one light, one love. See you next week.